back into the natural state of being into a God.
As guys, we're supposed to always move with that higher self.
And I have to be able to execute it. Having knowledge is not power. The execution of knowledge is power.
Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. Because the only real knowledge you can get is knowledge of self.
This is the highest level. The highest level is ownership. The highest level is power. The highest level is sovereignty. The highest level is higher consciousness. The highest level is when we own our own culture.
Excellence at a very high level. Not eye level. A high level.
It's time for a high-level conversation.
We're here for another high-level conversation.
19 keys, and this is a high-level conversation. Tap in with the God.
Peace, family. Welcome back to another high-level conversation. Today, I want you to forget what you think you know, particularly upon the subject of the Annunaki and ancient Sumeria. And I want you to be open to a dialogue that maybe just some of the information that you've gotten were possible misinterpretation, incorrect decodings, part of the imagination of those who've gotten information and supplied the world with what I would say is partially their poetic license. Today, I have somebody that I'm going to read directly from his book, going into the first chapter, and we're going to get into this subject, a subject that has become very famous, especially across the internet today. As somebody who's recently been, I wouldn't say attacked, but represented as an influence of Black America in media by the Oxy report that says that sometimes Black platforms represent a revisionist history. Now, they couldn't tell us what history, because then we have to get into debate of detail, right? And then they don't want to get there. So they'd rather throw these general titles. The reason that I'm having part 2 of a conversation with the scholar that I have on today is because he challenges people that if you have something that you think is wrong in my book or in my work, bring it to the table and we can deal with it. Otherwise, be satisfied with the facts and the truth that have been presented, and let this be your superior truth that you now move upon. So today we're going to get into first starting off with the Annunaki. So let me, if I will, read this first chapter. Sumer is the name of the ancient Mesopotamian civilization that preceded the Akkadian and Babylonian civilizations of the area now called Iraq. It is believed by many scholars to be the oldest civilization. Others contend that such honor should be given to Kemet, or ancient Egypt. I will not engage in that debate here, except to point out that both civilizations, at least in part, derived from or were influenced by earlier civilizations of Arabia, otherwise Black Arabia. However, I will point out that Sumer was a Black civilization. Now, because he's been here already, and some of you all may be new, but this is by the good God, the good brother, my brother, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. When Dr. Wesley Muhammad presents any information, I listen, right? Because I look at my brother as an elder, if you will, not older, elder, right? And I was asking him, how do you pick your subjects? And I think the most important part that he articulated to me is the fact that he's not looking to write a book, but when he can contribute something new, right? And not just regurgitate something that's already been there for the point of. So I wanted to get into, because there's so much narrative that is consistent around this, but nobody points out Arabia. Nobody looks at it as a Black civilization. Most people look at it as a ancient alien, but in the sense that these are grays, in the sense that these are reptiles, or whatever their imagination plays it as. Nobody looks at this as a Black civilization. So I want to first start right there of how do you begin to make the bold assertion and claim that this is an ancient Black civilization right? Versus the narratives that are out there that this civilization doesn't have a particular color, or these are ancient aliens who were giants, right? Or who ascended from a spaceship that came to decode human beings for whatever purpose that they had intended for.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother 19 Keys. First, of course, I'm honored to be back on your show.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
You have a powerful platform and you use it very responsibly. And that's good because that does not go without saying. A lot of powerful platforms that are used recklessly, irresponsibly, but I really appreciate how you use what Allah God has blessed you with. So regarding ancient Sumer, first allow me to say, with all of the narratives that are out there, one, or I would say even the primary problem that has generated this cottage industry of narrative is if somebody is presented a plastic bag full of puzzle pieces, it would be difficult, not impossible, but very difficult to put that puzzle together the way it was presented. Why? Because the pieces were given to you in a plastic bag, absent the puzzle picture. Most researchers, or most subjects, and in particular this subject, since we're talking about ancient Sumer, the Anunnaki, there are so many narratives because people are trying to put pieces together without a reference to the picture box. What is the picture box, Keys? What is the image that helps guide how these pieces of fact and data fit together? The teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad are the picture box. And by starting there, the data, the facts from various fields, we can see clearly how they should fall into place. And so, because his Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam, that means there must be factual consistency. There must be data collection and data consistency. His teachings shine light on any subject. And with the Anunnaki, the problem for me, the reason I felt compelled to write that particular book, the Anunnaki narrative has been, I will use this language, some might object to it, but I will use it anyway, has been hijacked by a particular paradigm, the Sitchin paradigm, the paradigm of Israeli former economist turned Anunnaki scholar, Zachariah Sitchin. The whole narrative of the Anunnaki has been dominated by the Sitchin paradigm. His reading of some of the data, not all of it, sometimes his misreading of the data, and sometimes, you said it right, the creative license that he took. And so you have the Sitchin narrative imposed on the Sumerian data, the Anunnaki data, which is misleading. And I am showing in my book, because I believe the data compels us to acknowledge that what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said about the original man, where he began, how he began, who he is and how he is, that is the light that makes all of the Sumerian data fit unforced. Unforced. See, you can force puzzle pieces that look like they go together, but they don't. So you just you make them fit because you don't know what the right puzzle piece for this section is. The teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is that which shines light on this subject and any subject. So the ancient Sumerians are black. The honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that that whole area, Arabia, was the black man's and woman's land. We black people founded that area of the Arabian Peninsula. Sumer, or ancient Mesopotamia, is in the northern section of that peninsula. Western politics divided that peninsula up the way it is right now. So when we say Arabia, we think of Saudi Arabia to the exclusion of the other nation states that inhabit that peninsula right now. But that whole peninsula is Black Arabia, and Sumer, or Mesopotamia, is on the northern end of ancient Black Arabia. And the population, the archaeological, the evidence of the bones, the human remains of ancient Sumer, human remains of the Sumerians, there were non-Semitic people, and the successor civilization, the Akkadians, who were a Semitic people. They were Black, and they both derived ultimately from the more southerly eastern portion of the Arabian Peninsula. So Black Arabia is at the root of ancient Sumerian or Mesopotamian civilization. Black Arabia is at the root of ancient Kemetic Egyptian civilization. So, in conclusion, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Arabia is the root of civilization, some of our nationalist family got upset with him. They think he was being anti-African because he moved the root of civilization in their mind out of Africa into the Middle East. No, he did not. Black Arabia was always nothing but the northeastern extension of what is now called Africa. So he told the truth that Black Arabia is the root of Black civilizations, and Sumer is a daughter civilization of Black Arabia.
I can see that. I was looking at a report where it was last year, and they was talking about how Black Iraqis, right, darker skinned Iraqis are finally getting to be seen, right? And because of so much racism, right, and prejudices that exist out there, which happen all across the planet Earth, wherever there's only the lighter representation of people, there's hidden dark figures.
That's right.
Right? And those are the original people.
That's right.
Right? And so when you think about Iraq, you think a very light man.
That's right.
Right? You think about modern Arabians. You don't think about an African-looking brother such as yourself.
That's right.
Which is why it's hard for people to puzzle it together, because the picture has never been depicted darker.
That's right.
So they say, oh, wait a minute, are you rewriting? Right? No, this is not me rewriting. This is the original writings. Right. So I think that darker people across the planet Earth, have all, been stuck under this erasure, right, of Black history. And now what they call, and it's unfortunate, that was this sister named Osu, which is a Nigerian sister, speak about Black platforms doing revisionist history, because we're like, whose history, right, are you speaking on? Because their history needs to be revised.
Absolutely, that's what I said. Revisionist historian, from a academic standpoint, is not a slur.
Yes, sir.
history as written absolutely must be revised. In most fields that have had an orthodox understanding of that field that has been in place for 50 or 100 years, almost all of those fields are under attack by revisionist historians, sparked by what? An ideological dislike for the orthodox history? No. Sparked by new data. New data forces revision. The fact of the matter is, almost all of the old history was blatantly ideological. That's why most old history is wrong.
Right.
It has to be revised. So when I read them refer to you in the language revisionist, well, wear that as a badge of honor, because in true scholarship, history writing, history revision is absolutely necessary because data accumulates, paradigms are shifted based on the uncovering of new material, but fundamentally, almost all old history is ideological. It's racist, it's political, it has a non-academic, non-scientific agenda. So in the academy, you can't even cite old sources without qualification because the presumption is there and justifiably that the old sources didn't really come close. At least those sources did well, but those sources were bogged down by ideology, by agenda. So if we are going to use old sources today, we have to do it with qualification.
Now, first of all, that's a very old sources without qualifications. Because I believe we have a whole culture that's based on old sources without qualification.
Absolutely.
Which is why there's so much in-house fighting today.
Yes, sir.
Because there is no scrutiny of truth.
Absolutely.
There's no rigorous process, right, that one can say, well, this is how we came to this conclusion.
Absolutely.
Everything is just an old source.
Absolutely.
Without qualification.
Absolutely.
And people who cite those sources don't have qualifications themselves.
Absolutely.
To even, determine whether the process that they've gotten to, that you're reading and now sourcing from, was correct or incorrect.
Absolutely.
Again, and not to always give my brother praise, all praise is due to Allah, but the reason that I like sitting with you and speaking with you, because you focus on that scientific process. You focus on that process of scholarship. And we need that more than ever in a world of mis and mal and disinformation, especially in a world of artificial information now.
Yes, sir.
Things, you can artificially generate a picture of something, then artificially generate facts around that. And so multiple people living in multiple worlds based on whatever information that they consumed, right? So having the old school way, I would say, of going through process and determination to get to what is the value of this knowledge that's being presented. What's going to happen is when you go through it, it's going to wipe away so many different sects, so many different texts that people are referring from. And what happens is that people get to a point where it is ideological and it's their belief system. And so they don't want to get rid of their beliefs.
Absolutely.
So therefore they won't consume the truth.
Absolutely.
In a matter to where they can digest the seeds, let it take root and be like, I bow that this is superior knowledge.
Absolutely.
So we're not fighting on the truths, right? It's a battle of beliefs.
Absolutely. Well said.
Now, I want to get to that. So now we have the current belief in most people's head of who are the Anunnakis, and then we have the Black Anunnakis. So for those who have limited knowledge on the subject, and for those who have so-called superior knowledge on the subject, can we lay out a foundation of who are the Anunnakis from the Zachariah Stitch paradigm, right? And the new paradigm, right, as I'll call this the Wesley paradigm, just for the point of this conversation and maybe for the point of future conversations. So what is the Zechariah Stitch version of the Anunnakis?
Okay. May I start with the true version and then get to
Yes,
what
sir.
I am suggesting is the fabricated version? And it's not the Wesley paradigm. It's the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the black man is God.
Yes, sir.
Said whenever you look at a black man, you are looking at God. He presented to us a detailed theogony, the process by which the black man came to be and came to be God. Now, I'm an historian of religion, Brother Keys. That's my training, which means I engage in a historical, critical study of religious traditions and religious texts. And as an historian of religion, I've studied all of the ancient religions, all of the ancient texts. And when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about this group of gods, he called them the 12 major scientists, the 24 scientists. Those same gods you encounter in the Hebrew Bible as Adat El, council of God, also Elohim, gods, plural. Those same gods that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about. You encounter them in ancient Kemetic, ancient Egyptian writings, the Pa'ut Neter, the council of the gods. It's the same as the black God. A council, a closed circle of gods that are the rulers, the divine rulers, not just of this planet, but of the universe. We'll get to that shortly. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us the real, down-to-earth understanding of them. We encounter them in religious poetic language in all of the traditions. So, the Anunnaki is Sumerian, a Sumerian term that does not mean, as Zechariah Sitchin took license to translate, those who from heaven to earth came, because he wants to make them aliens who originated off planet and came to this planet. That's not what the Sumerian or Akkadian variations of that term means. It simply means offspring or bloodline of the god An. Now, what I show, A-N, but what I show in my book, Keys, is An, as the Sumerians are likely, the Sumerian language likely is rooted in a Niger-Congo language group from West Africa. They migrated to Arabia, indigenized there in Arabia before moving up north and settling in the Tigris-Euphrates Valley. That name An, the chief god of the Sumerians, the father of the Anunnaki, that Sumerian word An is a Sumerianization of the global name Allah. An is Allah linguistically and conceptually. So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says the black man is God and his name is Allah, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says there's a council There's a circle of gods who rule the cosmos, and they collectively are called Allah. That is in total agreement with the data from Sumer or Sumeria. The Anunnaki are the gods derived from An, whose original name is Allah. Now, the word An, the reason we don't hear Allah is because in linguistics, and I had to, in my doctoral work, I was forced to be somewhat of a linguist. My program required that I study 5 languages in order to proceed in the program. I had to learn Arabic, Biblical Hebrew, French, and German, as well as English. And what that did was bathed me in historical linguistics and the science of the evolution of language and seams of semantics on the God of the Anunnaki, the divine wellspring of the Anunnaki that everybody is talking about. The name An, its original phonetics was ALA, pronounced ALA, but written AL. The L